Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Genre Equality. This is our 17th episode and it is the biggest one of the year. Well, at least until next month when we talk about Game of Thrones. But for now we're going to talk about the other game, the Endgame. Also featuring a Stark. But I mean, let's not forget that beyond Avengers and Game of Thrones, there's a wide world of genre to enjoy.
That's true.
There's a lot of stuff, we have your Shazams, we have the Tick, we have Star Trek Discovery, the Magicians, and a bunch of other things that are good and just as important, although not as talked about as, Avengers Endgame lah.
True.
So, but we are a genre podcast, and as with most genre fans, we have to talk about Endgame.
Yep.
So it will be our first topic, and it will take up most of the oxygen for this episode.
Yes.
As it should lah. It is the biggest movie worldwide. It is the biggest movie ever.
Yes.
Apparently.
What is it now? 1
something billion, right?
After 5 days.
Oh, that's mad.
Like a record, right?
Yeah. The 1 billion mark for the opening weekend was thought to be impossible. They hit 1.2.
Yeah, but apparently cinemas cancelled other movies to screen more Avengers.
And also stayed open for 24 hours.
That's mad.
Yeah. It broke records in several countries, not least of which was America, where it crossed the fabled 300 million mark over the opening weekend, which is, again, impossible. The closest the record was Infinity War, which was, it broke Force Awakens record last year with 257 million. Now it got 350 million. So it didn't just break the record, It
destroyed the record.
It destroyed the record. Yeah. Like by 100 million. It's a lot, guys. It's a lot. A lot of people have seen this movie. A lot of people have talked about this movie, but we are here to give our own opinions about it lah.
Yep.
So Avengers Endgame, the culmination of what Kevin Feige calls the Infinity Saga, the first 3 phases of the MCU. After 11 years, 22 films, this is the climax lah to this ambitious, staggering epic that has been built up through many good movies and some not so good ones. Yeah. But in the end, I think they wrapped it up in something that is appropriately, staggeringly epic. Something that is very satisfying, like an appropriate swan song, I would say.
I would say so.
Like a series finale in cinematic form, Endgame draws upon every drop of investment its fans has ever put into its franchise and pays it off with interest. It emphasizes hard-earned emotion just as much as the deliriously grandiose action, because if you have to keep in mind, most of the movie is dialogue and character-driven.
Yeah.
So that was surprising to me. It kind of balances this the heartbreaking farewells of our original 6 with the euphoric triumph of battle, and it's all elegantly crafted, brilliantly acted, and a supremely moving blockbuster venture lah. With so much to juggle, what Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers, and also have to credit the writers, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, what they have put off here is nothing short of a miracle. It's a miracle.
For sure.
I think it's bravely and organically character-driven in a superhero landscape where so few superhero movies are. It subverts expectations and begins by actually stewing in the aftermath of this giant cataclysmic event, towing kind of this intersection between survivor's guilt and grief, and then it builds up to that breathtaking live-action translation of what it feels like to watch a large-scale crossover comic of this magnitude. If you've ever read any of the big crossover comics where you have fucking 600 characters on the splash page, translated amazingly in action through amazing camera work that gives everybody a moment.
Yep.
Like Doctor Strange said in Infinity War, right? There are 14 million ways you could have done this movie, and I think they found the only one that works. The only way that
I
works.
agree.
Yeah. So okay, as usual, when we talk about big things, this review is split in 2 parts. First part is non-spoiler section.
Okay.
So we'll give generic thoughts. Don't give away plot points. Don't give away anything too important. Just talk about your feelings. Talk about your reactions to it lah. And then we'll delve into a spoiler section. We'll give you a fair warning. But first, non-spoiler section. What did you guys feel about this movie?
Well, it did. It lived up to the expectations lah. There were interesting moments that I felt took a lot of courage to do. I didn't expect them to actually do certain things, but all in all, it turned out well. And how they actually managed to keep the tone kind of in check throughout.
Yeah.
It was quite amazing, lah. You know, the usual Marvel humor, but then with a lot of thought and like a lot of like dark moments also entwined in it.
Yeah.
It was something that I think they had a lot of practice with like Thor Ragnarok, with Iron Man 3 and Guardians, right? I felt like everything that they've learned over the past 11 years came to fruition here, lah. And then I felt like it was really they gave everything that they had into this movie, and you could tell that 3 hours didn't feel like 3 hours, and that was something that's very important to me, lah.
True.
Yeah.
180-minute time is staggering. Can be exhausting, but it didn't feel exhausting. Yeah.
So by the end of it, I watched it twice, you know, and I had fun both times, lah.
Yeah.
And even better fun on the second run because of, you know, all the little Easter eggs that you catch, you know, all the little references you get, all the homages to the previous movies, that kind of thing. So it's kind of fun. I had a lot of fun, and it's a bittersweet feeling because it's over, you know.
But it's not.
I know. But you know, this phase is over.
Yeah.
The original Avengers are no. I mean, you know,
at least the big two, the most important two. Yeah.
Because they didn't resign contracts, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So the bittersweet in that sense, lah. But really gives you a lot of optimism for what is in store for future for Marvel films.
For Phase 4?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really looking forward to that now.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was Hardy's thoughts. Let's get Isa Fong's thoughts.
Well, I think I echo a lot of sentiments that Hardy has shared, right? Just the sheer amount of detail that they have very meticulously put in, right? And made sure that every piece that can be seen could be seen, right? That it blows me away, you know. And again, like for the first couple of minutes when it opened, I was a bit worried that the pacing might fall off, given that it's a 3-hour movie. But as a lot of the early reviews were saying, like, there isn't a moment for you to take a break, right? You are engaged from the get-go, and I think that in and of itself is its own triumph, given that superhero movies tend to have, you know, pacing problems, right? Like, it's just something that we have always accepted. It is fitting, right? And it is a culmination that has been a long time coming, and that in and of itself makes the very attempt at something like Endgame, or if we want to look at both Infinity War and Endgame, a triumph of cinema making. I think that is in a very meta sense, right? Because we've never had a series of movies that end up in what we've just seen.
Well, I mean, Star Wars, I guess, but not to this level.
Yeah, but we've never had that. Finality is not the right word, right? But we have never had that kind of closure.
Yeah,
I think from any of the Star Wars movies, and there is a coherence in the MCU, despite different directors and different writers and all of that. And under Feige's kind of like supervision that we don't get in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
You know, of course, like looking at where they're going with the next movie and wanting to.
The miscommunication between Rian Johnson, Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, you know, but everybody feels like on different pages.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I feel like Feige has sailed the ship right under his command for the last 11 years, and he had a very definite goal as to what he wanted it to be, and this movie, as the culmination of it, has been thoroughly enjoyable, right? I did have a few thoughts about whether or not, is it even possible to consider Endgame on its own as a single movie?
No lah, because it's a series finale, and I don't think it works on its own.
Yeah, and you know, so if we can't discuss the merit of that, then we have discussed the entire length and breadth of the 22, now 23 movies that we've seen, right? But yeah, I mean, like, I definitely enjoyed it. I was surprised coming out of that, like 3 hours later, not feeling like it was 3 hours. You know, immensely satisfying, I find. I did feel like there were kind of, you know, plot holes, a lot of pseudoscience, but I mean, it's comic book world, and we accept all of those things. And like, as you rightly pointed out, I think so long as it hits the right emotional beats, emotional notes for those segments, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, same. non-spoilery, we're just gonna give our ratings for this movie, and then we'll delve into the spoiler section. I will begin with Hadi. Let's go around this semicircle table. Hadi, how would you rate Endgame?
Solid 8.5 lah.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about you, Isa?
Yeah, I think in its entirety, with all that is done, it's an 8.5 for me too.
Yes. Same. Seems like we all have an 8.5 here, because I put on my notes 8.5 upon 10 as well, without knowing what my co-hosts were gonna rate it. Very high rating. Obviously not perfect, just because I think when you're juggling so many balls, there's no way to keep them all in the air. But they kept most of it. That's insane. We're gonna delve into spoiler section right now in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So if you're here, right, get the fuck out. Go watch this movie. You're like the only person in the world who hasn't seen this movie. Yeah, left. Did you just come back from the snap or something? Is that what happened? Go watch this. Anyways, we're gonna spoil the shit out of it right now.
Yeah.
So be warned. So first thoughts, spoilery wise, since I had so much praise for it, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about a little bit of the complaints, because it's hard to delve into the complaints without talking about plot points.
Yeah.
So the time travel, which is what happens in this movie. So I couldn't say time travel, right? It's a plot point. But the time travel logic is like at best Legends of Tomorrow level of nonsense.
Yes.
Which is a slight drawback. But as Isa said earlier, and I have said many times before, I value emotional logic over plot logic. As long as the character beats hit and the character arcs are crafted, hit at the right time, I don't care what mechanics achieves those things.
Yeah.
The emotions and the journey make sense, and they are powerful, and that's all I personally care about. The time travel neatness, that you see in things like Arrival or 12 Monkeys and things like that, right? That stuff is a condiment.
Yeah.
That's like ketchup. It's not a burger. The emotion is the burger, and a burger here was like juicy. So I mean,
Fine.
that was my only drawback for it. How about you guys?
I had not much issue with the time traveler. The same as you, didn't really matter in the end.
Yeah.
It's pseudoscience anyways. Not. It's gonna just hurt my brain if I think too hard about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Captain America going back in time to put all the stones. And I'm like, how did he put back the Soul Stone? How did
they sort of explain it by kind of, because Marvel doesn't do single linear timelines, unlike DC. So they do branching timelines.
Yeah.
So so the branching timelines sort of make sense. Sort of.
I guess. I mean, because if you put it back exactly at the time that you took it. Wait.
No, so he fixes that branching timeline, not our timeline.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the Thanos that came back in time, that was from a different timeline.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So that just confused the shit out of me.
Yeah. So what I'm
that's why I don't want to think too hard.
What I'm trying to say is don't.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's not. You're kind of missing the point if you're trying to figure that out. Yeah.
So because of the fact that I only thought about it way later.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the movie lah.
Yeah.
And so the only thing that was a niggling thing was the time traveling thing, as you mentioned. I guess also I felt like some people didn't have enough time on screen lah. But that's not anybody's fault. There's really too many characters lah.
Well, I felt there was a deliberate choice to give the
originals,
the important arcs to the original six.
Yeah. Because a lot of it, Again, niggling things, nothing really too serious lah.
How about you, Isa?
I think the Ancient One had a valiant attempt to explain the timeline thing, right? And of course
there were visuals and everything.
Yeah, the visuals and everything. She had a whole 3D presentation, explaining it to Banner of all people, right? Who had to wrap his head around it. And of course there was a great baby Hitler reference in the baby Thanos thing, and Rhodey's very creepy kind of strangling action going on. Yeah, that was quite a bit of fun. At the end of the day, however they wanted to execute it, I was okay. I mean, I love neat time travel storylines. I felt that if they could have worked that in, that would have been great. That would have just elevated it so much more. Some of the things that I just couldn't think of, why did Cap bring Mjolnir back with him, right? When he went back, and then I realized that he had to put Mjolnir back as well. And it's not just because he's the new Thor, basically. But other than that, honestly, I think that this time travel thing is neater than Days of Future Past.
Sure. Yeah, but like in Days of Future Past, I love the movie because the emotional closure to one era,
Yeah.
and then the beginning of a new era, and they pseudoscience it. But I thought it made emotional sense.
It did.
The passing of the torch in that kind of way.
Mm.
So I thought it was fine. This movie obviously featured a bunch of callbacks to previous movies, a lot of them, and they are payoffs, not just callbacks. And I think like payoffs are not fan service. People use the word fan service wrongly in this particular film because fan service is usually used in a negative connotation.
Yeah.
But even that also I have an issue with because why is servicing your fans a bad thing?
No. I mean, if you do it right.
Correct lah. Yeah. So, but in this case, it's used to service character, and it requires a lot of patience and commitment with the long-term vision that they've set out. Avengers Assemble, the first time that Captain America has ever said it is in this movie. Think about it. It's 11 years. Nobody's ever said Avengers Assemble in the movies. And
It always gets interrupted.
Yeah, right. So I mean, the fact that like it didn't happen in Avengers 1 or Age of Ultron or Civil War or Infinity War, they waited until now, and I think there's value in the waiting,
Agreed.
I mean, stuff like from verbal callbacks, like on your left, or the Iron Man 3 kid who was there for a short cameo.
Yeah.
In fact, speaking of cameos, a lot of big name cameos that I can't believe that they got.
Yeah.
Natalie
Natalie Portman.
Portman. I already mentioned Tilda Swinton. Robert Redford, who theoretically retired from acting, although I'm sure this was filmed before his final quote-unquote final movie, The Old Man and the Gun, which you should watch, is very good. But that was his retirement film. So I guess chronologically now, weirdly enough,
Avengers is his last film.
Avengers Endgame is Robert Redford's final chronological film.
Not bad one.
Which is insane. Yeah. They spend the first half hour to 45 minutes, I think, in an episode of The Leftovers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that was surprising. I loved it because it's brave to switch the narrative
and also it grounds everything.
Slow the pace.
Yeah.
I thought it's brave to slow the pace because it's not what people are expecting.
Exactly.
And they deal with the emotional consequence lah. I think that in this particular stretch of that MCU, the Scarlett Johansson did her best acting work in those particular scenes.
Oh, she's got to earn that solo movie.
Yeah. I think she was amazing and carried the emotional weight more than any other character in that film. The way that the script and film kind of skillfully and elegantly wrapped up arcs for Iron Man, Captain America, Big Lebowski Thor, Black Widow, and to smaller extents, Hawkeye and Hulk, is difficult to do and quite stunning. I love that the OG6 got this farewell treatment, whether it was quiet scenes of dialogue or powerful moments in battle. The writers and the Russo brothers knocked it out of the park, and even drew upon obscure things like Thor the Dark World, and retroactively recontextualized it to make it more resonant. You know? They're like, goddamn you will like every movie. Even Thor the Dark World.
It is important.
Yeah.
I mean, that mother scene. I mean, Thor was really my favorite
fucking
character.
Rene Russo came back.
I know.
Yeah.
But really, isn't Thor one of the best characters out there now?
Hasn't always been.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, he cries a lot, huh?
I mean, dude, he lost his home world.
I know, exactly.
Mother, father.
It's well deserved. And really, Chris Hemsworth has elevated Thor to such an extent. His comedic timing is there. And then that sadness in his face, right? How he conveys that, and then plus he got fat lah.
Oh man, Chris Hemsworth in a fat suit is just unconvincing, I have to say. Right, but for comedic value, it really works.
They should have added a bit to his chin and his face.
Yeah. It was a bit too sculpted, right?
Yeah.
Even with the beard and all that.
Yeah, it's all good. How do you guys feel about them moving to Greyhawk? Well, not Greyhawk exactly, but the whole idea.
Smart Hulk.
Smart Hulk.
I think it's the only
the left
direction for the character to go.
Yeah, because we already had Hulk Smash.
We already had the Jekyll and Hyde thing, which is the original Hulk, and then Hulk Smash taken over.
Yeah.
Now this is the only other way to go.
We had Hulk talk in the last Thor Ragnarok already.
Yeah, but that was like Mad Hulk.
Normal Hulk.
And then we had Hulk refuse to come out, so it was just Banner. And then this is the only other thing that you can do with the Hulk.
Smart Hulk.
Smart Hulk. No, I mean I loved it. Obviously, it's a lot more convenient, right? For you to merge the characters and just like kind of get it over and done with. You don't have to transform here and there for that. I like that kind of nod. I mean, like, obviously Greyhawk is one of my favorite Hulk arcs, right? But for them to bring it into the MCU was something that I didn't see coming, honestly, and I was very surprised by that. I did actually quite enjoy that particular decision.
Yeah. I think beyond the original crew, Nebula was given, I think, the most meaty or the most tragic arc, and I was impressed because I've never really thought much about Nebula as a character or Karen Gillan's performance in previous movies. So I thought the Russos have appropriately made her toxic, abusive childhood as the centerpiece emotional bridge between our heroes and Thanos. That's the emotional link. In the same way that Gamora was used in Infinity War. That was Nebula's place here. She had to literally kill a past version of herself amidst the chaos, and that was, a really good metaphor for the only way a person can change. You have to kill your past self. The splash page final battle, Jesus, I don't even know how to break it down.
When all the female superheroes.
The A-Force,
Damn, that was cool.
Yeah, there was so much happening in every square inch of the screen.
Yeah.
Every time I rewatch, I found something new and cool to focus on. Spider-Man wrote a Pegasus, which is a sentence that just I couldn't imagine ever saying.
Yeah.
In live action film.
Yeah.
I would have liked to seen some other stuff.
Of course.
In the resolution, I think it would have been nice to see Captain America return the Soul Stone, because that must have been awkward.
Must have been.
Yeah, because the Red Skull seems pretty zen about mortal concerns, but and his new cosmic role, but I think he might have showed a bit of emotion there. It's like, this motherfucker, Steve, son of Rogers, fuck you.
I'm the reason why I'm here. You're here.
Son of Rogers. Really want to know who Ivan is. I guess we'll find out
in the Black Widow solo movie coming soon in Phase 4. Any other spoilery thoughts? Good things, bad things, anything?
Nah, not much. I mean, the great that was how you capped off a 1 hour battle, lah. Yeah.
The entire final act was a huge battle, man. Yeah.
I mean, don't talk about battle tactics, lah. A lot of people were criticizing the A-Force. All the women actually joining up, and I'm like, why? It's great. It was awesome to watch.
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Pepper
was
Potts joining the battle was. I didn't expect that.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Pepper Potts joining.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
battle.
Rescue.
Yeah.
To be fair, this is the only role I actually enjoy Gwyneth Paltrow in.
Yeah. Yes.
In her entire filmography?
I don't like a lot of her movies.
Seven?
Shallow Hell? Don't like. 7. She died.
Yeah.
But she wasn't.
Spoilers for 7. I'm so sorry.
Oh, wow.
We are in spoiler territory.
Yeah, we are.
Gwyneth Paltrow's character in 7. I don't know. It was okay.
No, she was the female
wife,
victim.
Brad Pitt's wife.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
I do agree. In the end, my 8.5, I think the more I think about it is justified. I came out of it feeling like a 10. But judging it more objectively, it's definitely an 8.5. I liked it a bit lesser than Infinity War. Not my favorite MCU movie.
Yeah.
But as a finale, I can't think of a better way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's go around and since we are at a culmination of the Infinity Saga, name your top 3 movies of the Infinity Saga. Starting with number 3, what is yours, Hadi?
Ooh, number 3 will be Iron Man 1.
Okay, number 2.
Number 2 will be first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, nice.
Or Winter Soldier.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are cheating by choosing 4K. What's your number 1?
I'm sorry. They're drawed lah.
Yeah.
My number 1 is Thor Ragnarok.
Okay, cool.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so for me, 3 would be Guardians 1.
Mm-hmm.
2 would be Ragnarok, and 1 would be Winter Soldier.
Interesting. Okay. I think 3 for me will be Infinity War. Second for me will be this one, Endgame. First is Winter Soldier.
Wait, but I thought you said Infinity War was better than Endgame.
Sorry?
Wait, I thought you preferred Infinity.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I meant to switch them. It's Infinity War first and then Endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going chronologically for some reason. So yes. But Winter Soldier has always been at my top.
I know.
Yeah. So that's it, guys. That's the end of our spoiler talk for Avengers Endgame. Did you like it as much as we did? I'm sure you did.
Shout out to Hal Stark.
Shout out, man. What
no spoilers yet for that.
No spoilers, but shout out to Hal Stark getting shit done.
Yeah, getting shit done. Just bodying their villains.
Oh, and Tony died. That's sad too.
Yeah. That is very sad, but we kind of expected it.
Yeah.
I expected Cap to die. I think that was a huge surprise. Yeah. Black Widow's death, I think, the most unexpected of all.
Yep.
Unexpected of all. Yeah, for sure. We all settled the 8.5. Everybody's happy with that.
Good.
Yep.
Alright, we're moving on to our second big superhero offering of the month.
Shazam.
Captain Marvel. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, you're right. Shazam.
Captain Marvel. The lawsuit.
It's the other Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Shazam. This is DC's entry into a very crowded summer blockbuster season. I think it is a nice small film. It's funny, breezy, sweet. It's kind of a delightful kid-friendly comedy disguised as a superhero origin story.
Yeah.
I think it's blissfully unburdened by the doom and gloom of the DCEU.
Definitely.
It's a popcorn crowd pleaser with heart and hilarity, and Chuck's Zachary Levi is perfectly cast as Billy Batson's magical alter ego, once again playing a man-child discovering his new powers like he did in Chuck. He carries the film with boyish charm and wide-eyed naivete, optimism, rather than spandex busting muscles, which of course he does have too. While it does have its fair share of villainous threats, at its core, the sentiment of the film is about growing up and finding a family. I think it's a nice small little character piece and a comedy lah. Nothing too special about it. I enjoyed myself while I was there. What do you guys think?
I came out of this movie feeling really, really happy. So I gave it quite a high rating when I first watched it. Then after the second, third viewing, I watched it 3 times because things happen.
You watched it more than Endgame?
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, because I had free tickets and stuff like that. But anyway, doesn't matter. It depreciated in quality for me. As I watched it more lah. I saw more of the flaws. But overall, it was still a very fun movie to watch. And damn, Zachary Levi is jacked.
Yeah. I mean, that's clearly a bodysuit lah, but he's jacked anyway.
I mean, real life.
In real
you've
life,
seen him.
Yeah. In Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shazam, hands down, feel good movie. And I'll be very honest, I think it is one of the best kids superhero movies that have come out. And just this kind of stemming off a small discussion I had with my 8-year-old nephew, right? And he's like, I actually like Shazam better than I like Endgame. And I was like, well, that's because you haven't been alive for most of like MCU.
Yeah.
Right?
For different demos lah.
Totally different demos. But I think that in and of itself is kind of a testament to the way that they decided to tell the story, the fact that it is kid friendly, but at the same time still speaks to DC fans and Shazam fans overall, right? It was good. I left the movie thinking it was very fun, very feel good. I was happy with it, but it is on the whole forgettable, I think.
Yeah, I think like in conclusion, I was whelmed. I wasn't underwhelmed or overwhelmed. I was just appropriately whelmed. It's fun and enjoyable, formulaic, forgettable. It won't leave a strong, lasting impression. I felt its first act to be somewhat dull, and it takes a while before I truly took flight with the movie. But when it does, it was a joy. Also shouts out to John Glover, who plays Sylvana's asshole dad, who also played Lex Luthor's asshole dad on Smallville.
Yeah.
Lionel Luthor, he has the market for the personification of supervillain daddy issues cornered. That's just him. When I think about supervillain daddy issues, you gotta cast John Glover, man. Fucking Lionel Luthor, aka Sylvana's dad.
Because of that face lah.
He has that face.
He's that asshole face.
Yeah. In the end, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, 7 out of 10 too.
Normal rating.
6.5.
Yeah, I mean close lah. We're all a moderate recommendation.
Yeah.
If
one thing that I liked Shazam was because of its like the first act was a bit boring, right? But the second and third act picked up, and it ended well. Something that I felt Wonder Woman missed a bit, with the third act fight and all that stuff.
I'd rather end strong than end
strong.
weak.
Correct. Yeah. But it didn't I didn't have the kind of like Wonder Woman moment also. Of her walking into out of the
trenches.
Yeah, the trenches. Into no man's land. That kind of epic feeling.
It doesn't hit the highs lah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did think the introduction of the Shazam family was interesting though.
That was interesting.
That was interesting.
Well, I didn't expect that for like an origin story.
The first movie.
Exactly. I thought that would be coming in the third or fourth.
Yeah, when they face off against the Rock or something.
Yeah.
Or Black Adam. Sorry. He's always the Rock to me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited for Black Adam movie though.
Yeah, The Rock has been promising us that since 2011, so we'll see if that actually happens.
At least the Shazam movie is out now. So.
Yes, so I mean, and even he didn't get to be in that, so
that's why.
There wasn't even a post-credit scene with him.
I mean, he was referenced.
Sure.
Yeah,
he was referenced lah.
Yeah.
Next up will be oh boy, so many superhero men. We'll be talking about Netflix's new Ultraman anime. Out on Netflix right now, guys, so if you do want to binge it, you can just get a Netflix account, go watch it right now. It's enjoyable. The new Ultraman anime isn't a reboot, is actually a direct canon continuation of Ultra Q from the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a lot of time has passed, so a lot of changes to the style and tone of Ultraman have been made. For one, the live-action tokusatsu, if I'm
Can.
pronouncing that correctly, sorry to our Japanese listeners, visuals have been traded in for like 3D CG animation. Now I've been on record saying that I hate this style of animation, but once I acclimatized to it, it didn't bother me too much. The title hero is no longer giant form.
No, man form.
He's just a human-sized hero who's inherited the Ultraman gene from his dad. Yes, you heard that right. The story jumps ahead to follow his son, Hayata.
The young boy.
The young boy, Hayata. Hayata is the dad. The original Ultraman, and his son is Shinjiro.
Yes,
Shinjiro,
that's the guy.
yeah. As the latter, Shinjiro prepares to take over the mantle from his dad. Other evolutions or changes include a shift from the Kaiju of the Week format to a more serialized story, which includes a conspiracy angle, local police investigations, and the mysterious plans of the Science Patrol led by some shady characters, both humans and alien alike. The series is also a chance to get to know an all-new Ultraman as Shinjiro learns the limits of his powers, the responsibility that comes with the title and popularity, and the politics that he's become entangled in through no fault of his own. Yeah, I had some issues with it also, but I mostly enjoyed it. But before I delve into, I guess, my criticisms, what do you guys overall think about the new Ultraman? Did you all see it?
Yeah, part of it.
Okay.
I couldn't finish it in time.
Okay.
But I'm okay with cell shading already.
Okay.
Long time used to it already. I like that it was a totally. It's not the usual Ultraman that we expected. Because I think that will get boring really fast. Good angles all around so far. I'm halfway through. I'm just concerned with the emotional. It's very hard to convey emotion with the animation style.
Yeah.
So. And sometimes the
voice acting
is a bit off also.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that took me out a bit. But overall, it was fun. Fun.
Yeah. How about you, Isa? I think you watched the whole thing?
Yeah, I finished the whole thing. Generally, I never actually followed much of the manga, right? Which is where the content is derived from, right? Overall, I mean, like, I'm fine with cell shading, but again, it has its weaknesses. I don't think if the voice acting isn't on point, it's quite difficult, and I think like we saw a lot of instances of that throughout, where like key emotional moments fell flat, quite literally. And other than that, like, some things I really loved. I actually really like the new kind of like art direction as far as the costumes go. I thought the monster designs were great.
Monster creature designs were amazing.
I thought the fight scenes were great.
Yeah.
And overall, like, I thought it was quite dynamic, you know, whenever they weren't particularly jumping into some very kind of like obscure conspiracy theory that they're referencing that never actually gets revealed, right?
For future seasons, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I do feel like it's one of those, it's yet another whiny protagonist, right? Which is
anime lah.
Yeah, so typical of anime in general. But I do feel after the introduction of the other two Ultraman, that kind of gave like a counterpoint, right? Like, so you have your typical whiny protagonist, your whole like shonen power arc and all of that, and then you have the other two Ultraman who aren't gifted, who aren't thrust into responsibility like his, but elect their responsibility. They choose a responsibility for themselves. I thought that was a very interesting counterpoint, and I thought that gave a lot more depth to the series, especially in the later half.
Because of the personal ambition of the other two Ultramen, they are more interesting characters.
Yes, for sure.
And they're also more violent and more prone to lacking morality lah.
Yeah.
In terms of achieving their goals, whether it's good or bad. Which in turn also makes the morality of Shinjiro more important, because it existed in a full breath black and white context already lah.
Yeah.
So now there's grey, and now that Shinjiro can actually be a counterpoint to someone else lah. So now there is a debate: do you kill aliens? Do you not? That kind of thing lah. Whereas like at first it's just his point of view, and just having a white bread good guy Superman without the other point of view is very uninteresting. Now there are some minor pacing issues. I saw it. I didn't feel too bothered by it because it's a short series.
I think overall, I remember like in the initial viewing, especially when I was about halfway through, I did feel like the first arc really did struggle a bit. right? Just because of the focus on Shinjiro and his father's legacy, they took a bit too long, I felt. Like, that could have been condensed into far fewer episodes than it actually took. Yeah, but I think once we hit the halfway mark, and especially for the third arc, pacing wasn't really much of a problem. Of course, that was rectified with having a lot more battle scenes, right? Which obviously always helps, right? That seems to be the theme of this particular episode. A lot of battle scenes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, it was okay.
Given how short each episode was, and given like what they were trying to do, right? The creators were saying that they want to reintroduce a very Japanese superhero, right? Back to the world. I think they did a good job with that. I don't know how successful it's going to be overall as a franchise, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think overall I kind of enjoyed the world building. The mythology expansion, with the alien community on Earth felt very super girlish.
It is, yeah.
Its characters are more developed in terms of motivation and moral complexity than previous Ultramans that I've seen.
For
so
sure.
That's an improvement.
Yep.
I even like the burgeoning romance with J-pop idol Rena Sayama, which kind of gives Shinjiro this Peter Parker, Mary Jane kind of
it
dynamic.
did have that feeling.
But the best part, like you said, were the awesome action sequences. Not only is the skill impressive and the results more viscerally violent than any Ultraman I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because they can do it on Netflix. But the fights themselves just cool mix of like cosmic weapons, martial arts, and like pro wrestling moves.
Oh man, the suplex still I was like, what?
yeah. There's a psychology to the fights that like I really recognize from like actual pro wrestling. So it's very Japan. Japan, like, pro wrestling is very ingrained in their fighting mythos. It's just straight cool as fuck. Overall, the changes may take some getting used to, especially for hardcore Ultraman fans who I know have issues with it. But I think ultimately it proves to be an engaging ride for fans old and new. So 7 out of 10, it's a pass.
Yeah, halfway through 7 or so.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a 6.5 for me, but yeah, we're about on the same page.
Yeah. I mean, we liked it. Nothing to like sing home about, but at the same time, I think it's worth a watch if you have some time. Yeah. Everybody has Netflix these days anyway. So there you go. Next up, I think it's a solo review for now. I would have included it in Quick Hits, our later segment, but I wanted to speak a bit more at length about this.
Alright.
It's the new season, the 4th season of The Magicians.
Is this the last season or?
It could be the last season, but I can't really spoil too much about why.
No worries.
It could feel like that lah.
Okay.
But like every season of The Magicians feels like it's the last season, so they take very big swings with the finales.
Because you've been raving about this show.
Yeah,
which both of us haven't really watched yet.
Right.
So why?
Okay, so after a kind of mixed first season, which a lot of people gave up on, The Magicians, I think, grew to be a very weird, very brave, very creatively daring show on TV.
Okay.
It's kind of long given up its source material's attempts to be the new Buffy or the new Harry Potter, and kind of spun off into its own wild and exciting tangents involving like time travel again, alternate dimensions and demons and gods, all while dealing with the complicated politics of a bunch of students ruling a fantasy kingdom like Narnia, but really delving into the politics of it, like for example, do talking animals deserve to vote, etc., all while dealing with other more harrowing issues, like one character gets raped late in the first season, and you're still dealing with the emotional trauma from that until now because it doesn't go away. It can be unashamedly silly. At the same time, it can be very emotionally serious. It has very, very firm rules on logic and a clever internal logic, so you can always understand the cause and consequences of every spell, what they can do, what they can't do, and what are the ways around it by combining various spells you've learned from past seasons. So one of the big issues I have with magic shows, like Harry Potter or Sabrina or
they
whatever,
take their own internal logic.
it's not just the internal logic. It just feels like the magic is a plot device. Like anything can happen to advance the plot.
Okay.
You want to bring back this character because there is a spell, etc. Like, it just feels like, we
Very MacGuffin,
insert this spell because we need it to happen in the plot. It never feels that way in the Magicians, because you know the rules of it. There's nothing contrived about the show's direction. It's one of those shows that keeps me on my toes like every 5 minutes. I want you to think about a show like The Good Place, which frequently changes up its status quo. Like The Magicians does it like more often, which kind of says a lot about how often it changes its status quo. And it does have a knack of reinventing itself. They make seemingly insane and incredible left field decisions out of nowhere, and then they follow through and stick with it, and then it becomes like the show from now on.
Okay.
Like usually with like in Buffy or like Supernatural, and then like there's a body swap or whatever or something like that. You're
But
like,
you
oh, go back to the school. No, they don't. They will stick that way for the whole season. I mean, it's like that. Yeah,
That's brave.
That's what I really liked about it. Yeah, it's always ballsy enough to carry its problems to its logical conclusion, and if that changes the trajectory of the show,
So be it.
fuck it. That's the new premise to the show.
Interesting.
Yeah, they always go in the most interesting direction. They always I think at every pivot point of when you're reaching a narrative decision, they always think, oh, what's the most interesting thing we can do? Then we'll deal with the consequences later. So they always do the most interesting thing. Watching The Magicians is like hard to describe to people who haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna give an abstract metaphor. Like, have you ever seen like a ball in a pinball machine?
Yeah.
It's like trying to follow a ball in a pinball machine. Like it moves so fast and unpredictably, but it isn't random because you can see why it's going in that direction.
Yeah.
But sometimes it hits into the little holes and you don't know where the fuck it's coming from. It's like that. So for short stretches, you feel confident about its trajectory and momentum until suddenly it ricochets and then it expands into unexpected places. It's dizzying, but it's also thrilling, and I think the emotional arcs are what carry it through. So you can get very confused with the convoluted plot, but as long as you follow the character emotional beats, then that's what matters lah. And it's done wonderfully.
So is it as zany as, let's say,
More than like what Legends or Doom Patrol?
or Doom?
It's more. It's not as zany as Legends because Legends is zany.
Yeah.
That is like
That thing lah. Yeah.
Doom Patrol is getting to the point of where the Magicians is now because they're kind of marrying the zaniness with emotional weight.
Yeah.
But there isn't enough emotional weight yet, just because we don't know the characters as well.
Okay.
Then there's like 4 seasons of we know who these people are, what they're doing,
Okay.
sacrifices they've made. So there's that lah. And most crucially, in an era where all shows are serialized to the point where each episodes blend into one another. I mean, think about. I hear all these showrunners keep saying, I'm making a 13-hour movie, I'm making a 13-hour movie. No, you're making a TV show, goddammit.
Yeah.
I mean, Netflix, Daredevil, and all that lah. Can you actually name me a singular like Daredevil or Jessica Jones or Luke Cage or anyone like a particular episode? You can't, because they all just blend together.
Yeah.
The Magicians takes pride in crafting extremely distinctive episodes. Extremely distinctive. It's serialized in a sense that they all connect to serve an overarching narrative, but each episode is different genre or a different vibe or a different framing device. I mean, I don't remember what episode 6 of season 2 of Luke Cage is, but I remember every single episode of the show because they all feel different.
Okay.
It's unformulaic in that way lah. There is that heist episode, there is an alternate reality episode, there is a literal silent episode, and when I say silent episode, I mean not in the Joss Whedon we do hush and then there's still music in the background and people holding signs. When I mean silent, it's from the point of view of a deaf person, so there's literally no sound on the screen at all.
Oh, so like Master of None.
Yeah, something like that,
But that was only like 5 minutes only lah.
Yeah, I mean, like, think about like building an entire show on that with no sound design at all. It's difficult to do and so on. There are many of these types of episodes. I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. I think The Magicians right now is my favorite show on air. I think it's the best show on air, and I don't think it's a close race. First show for me for this year, I guess at least, that I will be rating a 10 out of 10.
God damn.
Yeah, it's
So
perfect. It's the most perfect show like I've seen in a long time.
So it's a must watch lah.
It is from season 2 onwards. It's pretty much a must watch. A bit like Agents of Shield.
Okay.
Past a certain point, you can't stop and becomes really amazing. But I think more than Agents of Shield, this is better than Agents of Shield. Agents of Shield usually I rated around 8, 9. So I feel like they have consistently given me 9, 9.5, 10 seasons. And the consistency is just unheard of to me. I've never seen a show that is just this consistent every season. And what they did in the finale, I don't know if you guys have seen it. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it. But it's one of the bravest things I've seen a show do. Legitimately, I think book fans might be upset, but fuck it lah. They've gone way past
This
the
is
books
a
already.
TV show.
Yeah.
The problem with book fans is you have to realize it's a TV show.
Correct.
It's a different medium.
It's totally different medium. Yeah. So 10 out of 10 for me. The Magicians is a must watch.
Alright.
Next up, going to be diving into something equally magical. The new Netflix Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Obviously a reboot of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, currently on its 2nd season. And I must say, Bad Witch Sabrina, a bit more interesting.
Yes, definitely.
As her resistance to Satan, I can't believe I'm saying this, is gradually eroded, I've come to organically and retroactively accept Sabrina's personality flaws, because now they're just interesting because she's evil. Well, I mean, starting to trend towards evil. Yes, she is well-intentioned and strong-willed and defiantly feminist, but which are, those are all great things, good qualities to have.
Yeah.
But her ways of going about those things come from a place of entitlement, hypocrisy, and arrogance. And I feel like Sabrina, the character, is emblematic of the show, or of some, not all, some white women in general, or like those white feminists, all the show's good points from season 1 are elevated. The visual palette, I think, is richer.
Yep,
the
for sure.
themes of female autonomy are more pronounced, and the brutal consequences are not skipped on, but all its flaws are still there, and they're even more glaring this time. Really, it's better and worse. The execution of his messaging is very simple-minded. Characterizations are hollow, especially with Sabrina's mortal friends, who have very interesting things going on, with gender identity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's not explored enough. And pacing is still a huge issue. It's a mixed potion, but a fun one. What do you think about this, Isa?
Oh man, every episode I was watching felt like they're trying to hit me with a hammer. There was very little subtlety in that, right? And I think like the kind of shift that they wanted, or at least they tried to, from season 1 to season 2, with Good Girl Gone Bad, that whole idea, I don't think that was very successful. Right, it felt a bit sudden in terms of Sabrina's actual character development, and it's very heavy-handed, just overall, right? I did enjoy some of the silliness of it,
in a Riverdale way,
like spoiler alert, but like really stealing a piece of gum.
Yeah,
No,
but it's like it's more of a it's not the actual act of stealing gum; it's your willingness to do it.
Yeah, exactly, and. That just didn't there's just so many problems with the series itself. I mean, like, if you're willing to turn off your brain for a while and you don't mind being slapped by a giant
piece of social messaging,
I think it's still fun.
Yeah.
I do think that they've really tuned in the visual aspect of it though. The costume design is great, the art direction is great. I do feel like they haven't used as much of that lingering shots that they did in season 1 that I found very annoying.
The blurry edge ones.
Yeah, the blurry edge ones. And that really did help. But it didn't solve any pacing issues for me.
I felt that this particular season isn't a season 2, it's the back half of season 1 that they split up.
Yeah.
It felt that way. I think it really is because it premiered 7 months after the first season, or less than actually.
Yeah, they probably shot everything at one go.
So our last episode on this we did around October-ish, and now it's April.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think it must have been shot at the same time.
Yeah. So, which is interesting, right? Like, given some of the things that we've noticed, if they really did shoot it at the same time, then why did they choose this particular point to branch off and eventually split into its own second season, right? But I think Sabrina suffers from a lot of the same problems that we have in Riverdale, and you can forgive the premise for as long as it's eye candy and it's entertaining and it's silly. But when push comes to shove, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll rate it a 5 out of 10.
Same here for me.
Yeah, just good enough to watch, not good enough to recommend.
Yeah. I do feel that some of the horror moments in this season weren't as good.
Same. I think this will be the last time we'll be reviewing Sabrina as a major topic. From now on, I think if we're ever reviewing future seasons, it's going to be downgraded to a quick hit section.
Yep, for sure.
I don't think it's worthy of that much time, but I mean, still got hype around it, so why not lah? It's a clickbait title, so why not? Next up, I'm gonna hand over the reins to my co-hosts Isa and Hardy, because they'll be talking about the second season, the highly acclaimed second season, I might add. A lot of rave reviews around there of Star Trek Discovery. So, this is the deal that I'll make with you two after you guys. Before. Well, you guys review it first, then I'll make a deal with you guys.
What?
Stay tuned for the deal.
Okay.
just
we have to stay tuned.
Stay tuned, you guys. Because I haven't told them what the deal is.
Okay.
Also, but yeah. So if you want to, just stay tuned. I'll have a deal with them, then we'll make a compromise. Okay.
Okay.
I haven't seen Star Trek Discovery. You all know my issues with this. If you tune back to our early episodes. But I'm planning to.
Oh wow.
Hopefully, if my co-host can convince me now, so let's go for it.
Okay, go.
What do you think?
All right. Damn, that was a good second season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was relatively different.
The tone from the first season to the second season definitely changed a great bit. The addition of Pike, right, as captain was
That helped.
a huge bonus.
First of all, it was a redeeming role for Ensign Mount,
Yes, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
who screwed up in. I'm not his fault, but the Inhumans lah.
Yeah.
Remember that short-lived series?
It was very, very good. I think like introducing Pike and just going in a direction, in this particular direction that they took for season 2 was refreshing.
Yes.
It was refreshing for us because we followed season 1 and we liked season 1, right?
We did.
But for once, I think like Discovery is finally getting back to its track roots.
Yeah.
Right, with the introduction of Pike, with the introduction of Spock,
Mm-hmm.
and a bit of a darker Spock than we are used to.
Yeah.
A bit more tortured
Yeah.
than he usually is in any of the other series that we've seen him in. But like these two characters and having these transplants from Enterprise really has changed it up a fair bit. And seeing where our beloved characters have come from with Saru and with Michael Burnham from season 1, and even the return of her Empress, Philippa Georgiou. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I think overall, like, even though we didn't quite see your Next Generation or your Deep Space Nine, it's not really in that vein, right? They don't hit the same kind of beats. But the whole exploratory, the whole goodwill of
Science.
of science and of progress and of exploration, a lot of that is explored here, whereas season 1 was a lot more about war and the consequences of war, and like the what are the not the limits of human morality, right, or Terran morality for that matter. But that exploration isn't something that we are used to in the Trek world.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But I think a lot of that has been put aside, but are still referenced whenever it's important for character development.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great war that happened.
It was. I thought the resolution of season 1 was great.
Yeah.
As well. And I was just very surprised to see how our characters within Discovery have grown with the addition of these with Pike and with Spock.
I mean, this season had much more a more interesting plot.
For sure.
You had the AI thing.
Yep.
Right. You had the time traveling thing.
Yep.
You had again another time traveling show.
Yes.
Yeah.
And another major final battle.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, a really major final battle.
I actually think in terms of scale.
Yeah lah, because space.
Yeah.
And the collaboration and all that. Okay, but again, your main characters like Burnham.
Yes, Michael Burnham.
And how she juggles her humanity with her Vulcan logic is quite interesting. How she can code switch basically.
Yeah, I think it's also a very interesting counterpoint to Spock's humanity and his Vulcan
yes, correct.
Lineage, right? And of course, like revelation such that Spock is actually dyslexic.
Yeah.
Right? Or
Because
has a
of
form
his
of
humanity.
dyslexia that he inherits from his human side. Something that I think hitherto we've never been privy to, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. It makes him a much more interesting character, I feel. Especially like given where Discovery is placed in the chronological timeline of the Trek universe.
Yeah.
I
mean, we get to see early Spock, right?
Yeah.
And this is not J.J. Abrams kind of Spock.
No.
This was a lot cleverer, a lot more cerebral, a lot more emotionally grounded, I guess.
I'm not sure about emotionally grounded, but this version of Spock struggles very hard.
Yeah.
Right, and I liked that about how he was portrayed, and of course the beard helped.
The beard helped,
like, with the whole gravitas of his character. What else is there? I mean, like even minor characters like Tilly.
Tilly had a good arc.
Tilly had a great arc.
Dr. Culber and his boyfriend
had a great arc, right? Like all of those, like these little character moments that are spread throughout this grand theme of trying to save the world from itself, right?
Figuring out what the hell is the signals about, and all that, and slowly getting, more and more pieces fitting in together, and then at the final episode, you felt like it was a really well-deserved journey.
Yeah, it is. I mean, again, as with other things we've been talking about, a lot of pseudoscience going on, right? But again, it's forgivable. It hit the right notes
all the time.
It gave the right closure.
had the epic track moments.
Yeah, it really, really did. And like a lot of these like moments of moral decisions that hang in the balance that were extremely important, you know, and what most track fans actually love.
Yeah.
I do feel like the way that they ended this particular season is a great stepping off point.
Yeah.
Because now we leave the Enterprise transplants behind, and we are in totally new
Ground.
ground,
Yeah.
right? Which is what you know, Star Trek is supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, and like Discovery is finally going to live up to its namesake
Discovery.
after 2 full seasons.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and I'm really excited to see what's happened.
I mean, the Spore Drive was a bit of a MacGuffin in the previous season.
especially for season 1.
Yeah. So right now, like how it was actually neutered lah in a way
yes,
in this season,
For
it's
sure.
quite good lah.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
like now we have time travel, you know, so like it's really fascinating the way that they've decided to deal with time travel. Again,
Through
it is-
wormholes and
it's-
all that,
Yeah,
like,
it's
yeah.
linear. It's not branching timelines anymore per se, right? Because we only follow our Discovery
Yeah.
crew. You know, we don't ever see the other branching timelines. And
I
that
mean, we've
in and
been
of
to a
itself,
parallel universe lah.
yeah, we have.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting the way that they explored it. It was less problematic than I thought it would
Yeah.
be when they first introduced it.
Agreed.
The big reviews were fascinating.
It was.
Yeah.
No
So
spoilers.
I mean, like we've been big fans since season 1, and
We have.
season 2 has just really upped the ante
Yes.
a fair bit. Everything that was good in season 1 has gotten better with the costuming, the art direction, the way it's shot. It's
Oh,
beautifully shot.
Come on, you like the classic uniforms coming back, right?
Yeah, and even the revisiting Enterprise, right, in this kind of like HD
Yeah.
kind of clarity is so like satisfying.
Yeah.
It really, really is. But yeah, it's a strong recommendation from me. I think this season 2 is a 7.5 for me.
I feel that this season will help Trek fans get into Star Trek Discovery.
I agree.
If let's say you have a long time Star Trek fan and you hated Discovery in season 1 like Hidze, or you are a Trek fan who has been disillusioned by the J.J. Abrams movies and all that,
Yeah.
season 2 is a good transition
Yeah.
season for you.
Yeah. I would actually liken it.
7.5 also lah, by
Yeah.
the way.
I would actually liken it to like season 2 for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
You get what,
yeah.
you know, it was kind of the point in time whereby I can start to see where this is going to get really good
Yeah.
down the road. And I got that same feeling midway through the season. It's like, okay,
Agreed.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I'm even
Everybody
more
was
sold
on
now.
their game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was really, really good. I do feel like some of the, I mean, given that Michael Burnham is the central character of this one, there is a few, some of the writing is a bit problematic in terms of her characterization, in terms of its consistency overall.
Yeah.
But
She goes to extremes sometimes.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen enough of her background, of her story, of the series in general for us to actually justify some of the decisions she made. But in the greater scheme of
It makes sense.
of this season,
Yeah.
I think it was okay.
Yeah.
So you guys 7.5 unanimously?
Yeah, 7.5.
Very nicely done. Okay.
What's the deal?
The deal is right. I guess this time next year, exactly this time, this episode next year, like the May first episode
Yeah.
next year, I will review Star Trek Discovery with you guys.
Uh-huh.
If you watch The Magicians,
Okay.
I have no issue watching
Dude,
The Magicians.
You have convinced me to watch The
Yeah,
Magicians
I'm
just
like
now.
2.5 seasons in, so I'm not at all.
I'm getting ready for it now.
cool. Okay, so we have a year. Yeah, I was gonna watch Star Trek Discovery anyway, but I thought that would be a deal.
Okay, fine.
But keep in mind, I also said this last year and I didn't end up watching it.
Exactly.
So this one is like a way to like keep my word lah.
okay.
Yeah, it keeps me in check because
Alright.
you know, if I want you to review The Magicians, I'll watch this.
We'll
Yeah, for
both
sure.
watch The Magicians for you watching Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
And falling back in love with Star Trek.
Yeah, I mean, thank God, man. The J.J. Abrams stuff did a number on me.
Right?
Yeah, and then I was just very...
Because he tried to be Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, he was trying to get Star Wars at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, he's finally going to end it. Never mind. This one...
Another episode.
That's for another episode. This time, we're going to be delving into a segment I like to call Quick Hits, where I
Yay.
briefly talk about a bunch of titles that my co-hosts haven't seen because they are busy or are not important enough to talk at length about, you know, because they are not good. And in that vein, the first title I'm going to be talking about is the new R-rated reboot of Hellboy.
I was there with you.
Yes, Hadi came to the premiere with me. We got free tickets, so you know why not, right? It's directed by Neil Marshall, who did The Descent, I believe, from back in the
Which
day.
is a damn good show.
Great horror movie, yeah. And right off the bat, I can tell you, it deserves its R rating. It's indeed gorier, bloodier, and more violent and more vulgar. Singapore did the unusual step of releasing in two versions of it. There's a PG-13 and an M18 version.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you want to watch. Unfortunately, those things don't make a good movie.
Yeah.
This was an exceptionally terrible one, I must say. Don't get me wrong, there are ingredients of a good movie in there somewhere, but this was so poorly edited that it felt lifeless and incoherent. We just jump from one scene to the next with no rhyme or reason, giving the movie no time to breathe. It's a jumbled mess that feels lazily put together during post-production, which is a shame because I think in a vacuum, the action sequences were good. Dialogue was corny but enjoyable. The creature designs were truly amazing.
Oh, yes.
David Harbour delivered a really good performance, living up to Ron Perlman's example.
Yeah.
Sadly, those ingredients weren't
enough
cooked properly. I think the ingredients were good. It just wasn't cooked properly, and what we got was a tedious experience. Do you want to like jump in a bit on this?
It's just that I was so frustrated with this.
Yeah,
because you could tell, right? There were moments like, hey, actually, this can be good.
Yeah, it's just like why the weird editing?
Yeah, really weird cuts. Really like, hey, why are we here now? How did we get here? You know, that kind of feeling throughout the entire movie. We were so disillusioned, I think, that we just left after the credits roll.
We were informed that there were 2 post-credit scenes, but we just left.
We just didn't care.
I didn't care about the future of this franchise because we knew that there would not be any
We wanted
future
to catch the last train.
Also, I knew there would be no future to this franchise.
Yeah, I know.
And the fact that it's made like $7 million is pretty sad.
No way.
And like 3% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's,
Wait, it made 7 million only.
Yeah, I think like worldwide or something. It's a pretty big bomb. It's a pretty huge bomb.
That might be the biggest bomb of all time.
I mean, it's positioned in between Shazam, Game of Thrones, and Avengers Endgame. It was it was fucked to begin with. Even if it was good, I think it was just fucked by the calendar.
But now they're fucked in the money terms and no critical acclaim.
Thank God it's bad because if it was good, I would be like wanting a sequel.
Yeah, me too.
Thank God it's bad. Like
thank God.
Silver linings.
Silver lining.
Next, speaking of reboots, next one we're talking about is a sort of remake of Pet Sematary, because the Stephen King book novel Pet Sematary, one version of it came out in 1989 as a film. Everybody knows the actual book, which came out in 1987, I believe. So it's been a long time since we had a Pet Sematary adaptation. So this new Pet Sematary isn't perfect, but it has the kind of serious balls any good adaptation should have, I feel. The themes of I think grief and mortality in Stephen King's novels are expanded. Plus there are huge deviations. Huge! I mean like gargantuan deviations to give familiar fans some welcome surprises.
Can you tell me what the deviations are?
This is a non-spoiler review. I'll tell you like afterwards.
Offline.
Offline. But I mean, more than yet another cover of a beloved classic, this new version contracts its focus into a family nightmare and expands its themes. And it makes clever changes to the source material that lead to, I think, more shocking and much darker paths. King diehards and fans of the 1989 movie have cried foul over the new alterations, but I discovered that they are smart and they brilliantly subvert expectations. Like The Shining or Misery, some of the best King adaptations have kind of forged their own identities. That doesn't mean this film is blasphemous. The Shining, many consider it to be blasphemous, but I think it's the best Stephen King adaptation out there, even though Stephen King himself hates it.
But it was on a lot of coke that time.
Yeah, he was. I think most importantly, it stays true to the spirit of King's themes, rather than being faithful to the text on the page. This is an emotionally complex movie about death that's smarter than your average studio horror. Stephen King purists or casuals looking for a jump scare crowd pleaser might be disappointed, but those with a more open mind might appreciate the craft and cerebral nature of this remake. So, this is a really good Stephen King adaptation. It's a 7.5 out of 10 for me.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you have? I mean, since you watched it, do you have a rating for it as well?
I'll give it a 7.5 lah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you pretty much said everything that I wanted to say about the movie.
Nice. Okay. Next up, we'll be talking about the second season of Amazon's The Tick.
Oh yeah, how did that go?
Yeah. For over 30 years, right? Ben Adlon created The Tick more than 30 years ago. Actually, more than 30 years ago. The Tick has been around as a satirical love letter to comic book tropes. in various forms. It started as a cartoon. It started as a comic.
Comic.
Then it moved into a cartoon. And
A very well done cartoon.
well done cartoon. It became a live action TV show. Very well done.
Also well done.
And now it's a new live action TV show. And all throughout, it's kept the same writer director, Ben Edlund. So it's the same guy.
Throughout.
Yeah, from the beginning,
Oh,
Ben
damn.
Edlund has been at the helm and show running all of these shows
Wow.
and written a comic book.
Okay.
Yeah, but for the majority of its existence, right, this type of thing, the satire of comic book tropes, only had a niche audience. However, this modern era of superhero saturation in the mainstream has really armed its creator with tons of material to unpack through comedy, and also the fact that everybody knows these tropes now.
Yeah.
Like everybody in
It's
the
more
world,
mainstream. Yeah.
everybody in the world went to watch Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
I mean, all the Avengers movies, like you all know what the tropes are. So it's no longer to like the comic book guy in The Simpsons. It's no longer that audience.
Yeah.
That 1 out of a million.
Yeah.
Everybody. This is for everybody right now. And I feel like as a superhero spoof, because of that, the Tick has reached his fullest potential in the second season of his Amazon incarnation.
Okay.
What other time than now has superheroes been more prevalent? Yes, season 2 parodies the phenomenon, specifically the modern phenomenon of the dark and gritty take. And it does so in ways that will leave you in stitches. It's really funny. But what makes it stand apart from something like Deadpool or Lego Batman is that it doesn't just poke fun at the popular things. It's also smart enough to probe why it is popular. Why are they interested in superhero movies now? Why do they want the dark and gritty take?
Oh, that's
But at the same time, still, having a laugh at it. And also at the same time, taking all that out of the equation, right? It still tells a thrilling, twisty, and emotionally fulfilling story that can totally stand on its own.
Okay.
Like, even if you don't know the tropes, you don't know that it's a satire or homage to something, right? It works on its own.
Oh.
Because I feel like Deadpool doesn't work on its own. Like,
It
if you don't
doesn't.
understand any of the jokes, it
Yeah,
does
it
as a story, it just doesn't work. This works as a story. And as silly as the show is, the Tick asks some pretty good questions about who we expect to be heroes, who we think are villains, and who gets entirely dismissed as a support character. So they explore, why is someone considered a support character? Why is someone considered a hero? And yeah, I think that's great. The center of this conflict is actually a character called Overkill, who most directly parodies the 90s image archetype, or the Punisher even, which is not an image archetype, but pretty much inspired your Todd McFarlane's and all that. He acts as a commentary on any number of other emotionally repressed grim male heroes. Like Overkill and Dot, who is Arthur's sister, has a relationship that provides a clear parallel between Frank Castle and Karen Page. I mean, it's clearly making fun of that. It's so obvious. But the Tick's version is actually stronger than the actual thing, because Dot is more willing to call Overkill on his bullshit.
Oh.
Plus, the plot also provides a sharp critique on how women are often regarded as support characters and love interests in superhero stories. There's also an interesting subplot with Miss Lint, who is one of the henchmen of the Terror in season 1. So this time she has transitioned from a supervillain to a superhero, because there is more money in it.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, she got a job lah. She get a steady paycheck instead of freelancing. That's pretty much her reasoning.
That makes sense though.
Yeah, I know. Because they have the whole the Shield S organization there. And she, why don't I join? I get a steady paycheck, and plus, the secondary reason is she gets to eliminate her competitors. Yeah. And that's pretty much the joke lah. She's actually a supervillain at night and a superhero by day.
Capitalism.
Yeah, capitalism. Yeah. Go where the money takes you, I guess. Yes, there are broader jokes with, like I mentioned, there's a Shield S organization, and there's a blaxploitation version of Doctor Strange, which is hilarious. He's just a wizard with a third nipple, and that's his Eye of Agamotto, and that comes from his third nipple. There's an evil, not a human trafficking ring, a human furniture ring. That's the main villains of the season. A human furniture ring. They abduct people and force them to be tables or lamps or chairs and sell them to the wealthy. You have to be a table for us. I know.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think the show's fidelity to its comic book tropes is what makes it so compelling in more than comedic ways. Something as stupid as the traumatic origin story for Danger Boat, who is a sentient boat who identifies as male and gay and is also in love with Arthur, actually becomes a poignant and compelling story because of how straight-faced the approach is. It takes Danger Boat's situation very, very seriously. He is a boat that is alive and is gay and identifies as male and loves Arthur and is unrequited in that love.
So more advanced kid lah.
Yeah, I mean it's stupid on paper, but the way they treat it makes it feel so important.
Wow.
I mean, so it works both ways. There's even there's a supervillain called Lobster Hercules, who is a giant lobster that robs banks. But then you learn his backstory. His lobster children have been abducted, and he needs to rob banks
To free them?
to free them. Yeah, he's basically being forced into it, and it's actually really sad the way that they
Yeah.
treat it. It actually Lobster Hercules is like one of the saddest things I've ever seen in 2019 television. It's weird.
Yeah.
This show is wonderful, man. It's 8 out of 10 for me.
Wow. Okay.
I love the tick.
Brilliant.
Next up, oh man, I'm gonna go into a bit of a horror run right now. There's a lot of small horror movies out there. First one I'll be talking about is called The Hole in the Ground. So this Hole in the Ground uses an overused trope in genre. It's about a creepy kid. Much like Pet Symmetry. Again,
Oh.
creepy kid, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, this is an Irish indie starring about Sarah and her young son Chris, who moved to a new home in the Irish countryside next to a forest that hides an enormous sinkhole. One night, Chris goes out playing, vanishes, and then he reappears seemingly unharmed, but his behavior grows increasingly disturbing. His change, exactly, Pet Symmetry. You get the gist, right?
Or us.
Or us, yeah, a lot lah.
Yeah.
So Sarah begins to fear that the boy who has returned may not be her son at all. While it is well crafted and efficient, The Hole in the Ground never seeks to differentiate itself. We get the creepy lullaby music, old hooded women mumbling,
The tropes lah.
and a creepy kid. It works, but it's so unoriginal.
Okay.
It's a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Next up, I'll be talking about The Curse of La Llorona,
Ooh.
otherwise known as The Curse of the Weeping Woman. It
Is
has
this the one, the Conjuring, part of the Conjuring family?
yeah. So The Curse of La Llorona has been renamed The Curse of the Weeping Woman because I guess it's too ethnic for white people.
Racism.
They wanted to rename it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so Pet Sematary was a movie I expected to hate but ended up loving. This
Okay.
was a movie I expected to love but ended up hating.
Oh, wow.
In a totally reverse direction lah. Yeah, it's weird. It's very ho-hum. It suffers from an anemic script with too little scares and too little emotional investment in the characters that we're supposed to be scared for.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, in the end, it's like okay lah, they die lah.
Oh, wow.
So
That's never good for a horror film.
correct. When I did initially see it, they had not revealed that it was tied to the Conjuring universe. It was a sort of. It was meant to be like
A review.
like in Split.
Split lah, yeah.
For example,
That is
yeah.
unbreakable.
Correct. But when they started not making money, then they revealed like, oh, this is part of the Conjuring universe, so they want to get the Conjuring fans, So it's a very lazy attempt to build buzz and
So
to
was
tie
there
into a
any-
larger build. Yeah, there is. It does. It's
Oh.
style lah. The next Annabelle movie apparently is a sort of Infinity War for the Conjuring universe,
Oh my god.
where they are gonna tie in everything, and then the Warrens are gonna fight them. R.I.P. to Elizabeth Warren, by the way, who the real life ghost hunter who recently passed away.
Who is a fraud?
I'm not gonna say that. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I'm quite sure.
but this movie is a fraud lah.
This movie is definitely a fraud.
This movie is a fraud. It's a 3 out of 10, man.
Oh, damn.
Next up, we'll be talking about a small little indie sci-fi film from the director of The Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Rupert Wyatt, who returns after an 8-year hiatus. He hasn't directed a movie for 8 years.
That's long.
Since Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Wow.
I know.
Has it been 8 years?
It's been 8 years, man.
God damn.
So the new movie is called Captive States. Given the auteur involved and its premise, I was looking forward to it very much. It's set in a Chicago neighborhood a decade after an
The
occupation
alien-
by an alien force.
I wanted to watch this so bad.
So Captive State sort of explores the lives on both sides of the conflict,
Yeah.
the collaborators and the dissidents, in an attempt to explore provocative political ideas. Basically, the question is: aliens have solved all of the world's problems. No war, no poverty, no hunger, whatever. But what are we willing to give up in exchange for security? Right? I mean, it's a timely,
It's a trope.
It's a timely theme.
Yeah.
Besides being a trope, lah.
Mm.
But the movie is very undercooked and overwrought, and it's very. The most frustrating thing about this is that it's not tropey. It's plain boring.
Oh no.
Yeah, so this is a 4 out of 10.
Okay, I guess I'm not watching it.
Yeah, don't. You made a good call not watching this.
Okay.
Next up, I'll be talking about Missing Link.
Oh, this is a cartoon, right?
Stop motion animation, yeah.
Sorry, animation.
So Laika, which is the stop motion studio behind gorgeous and meticulously crafted masterpieces like Coraline, And I think Kubo and the Two Strings as well.
Yeah.
Is back with a new film called
Two
Missing
very
Link.
great animations.
Fantastic stuff,
Yeah.
right? This latest movie is a travelogue following the last Sasquatch in the world as he befriends explorers and embarks on a globe-trotting quest to find his long-lost relatives. So while it is very visually dazzling and and very pleasant, such a pleasant experience.
Okay.
But in the end, I think despite the craft behind it, I found it to be a bit uninspired despite its sweetness.
Okay.
But ultimately it's unmemorable because it lacks kind of emotional depth and laugh out loud gags.
Okay.
That being said, it's something you might want to bring your kids to though, because I think like it's for a lower is the wrong word, a younger demographic.
Yeah.
Lower
what?
low, I know it feels derogatory, so I meant younger. It's a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah. So next up, oh boy, I'm going to be talking about Dumbo.
Hey, Disney's live action.
Yes, I know. I mean, have to address the elephant in the room, right?
Uh-huh.
So this remake of Disney's 1941 classic is Tim Burton's best movie in like a couple of decades.
What?
Yeah, it's by far his best movie in 20 years.
Since Edward Scissorhands?
But that doesn't make it good.
Oh, wait.
It's just such a low bar.
Okay.
Yeah. It just means it's his least terrible movie.
So better than Willy Wonka lah.
Yeah, it's a shallow and workmanlike venture that's full of kind of cheap schmaltz. The story is so thin and its earnestness is so unearned, and its emotional wallop feels like a light jab. I should be crying instead of feeling like, oh, that's sad. This is like a wondrous tale with all the wonder squeezed out of it. It's very sad. It's a 5 out of 10 for me.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next up, I'll be talking about the second season of Netflix's Shira reboot called Shira and the Princesses of Power. It returns for a very, very short second season with only 7 episodes. 7 half-hour episodes. So it's a very easy to watch, breezy, fun show. It has action, humor, vibrant animation, colourful ori of great female characters. And I think like the real triumph of Shira from the beginning that we've seen is that it's one of the few cartoons that devotes equal screen time and development to heroes and villains.
Yep, it does.
Yes, the princesses have their own dynamic they need to sort out because they are a new team. The drama comes from the fact that none of them know how to function as one, but just as much time is spent with Catra and Entrapta and the internal politics of the Horde. In fact, I think the villain side is actually more interesting this season.
It is actually.
But that being said, I think Shira remains too kiddie for me. It's an excellent kid show, but it's just for kids. Unlike Steven Universe or Carmen Sandiego or a variety of other cartoons we've talked about in the past, which offers more complex flavors for adults to dig into, this one is just pure cotton candy, I think. And that's just fine for kids. I just personally won't be continuing with the series, I feel, because I'm a grown-up, as if I need to explain that. But I hope that more kids discover this because it's a treat for younger viewers. What do you think, Isa? You watch this also?
Yeah, I do feel like this really short second season didn't really help do any justice to some of the more complex themes that they managed to pull off in season 1. I do feel like the humanizing of like issues on both sides, whether it's the Horde characters, whether it's like looking at Shadow Weaver's like background and her motivations, like some of those were really interesting, and I think they could have taken those a step further. But given how short season 2 was, I don't think there was any space for that, because it is a very large cast of characters, and because of how short season 2 is, a lot of those characters became caricatures, so like Mamista, for example, and a lot of the other princesses I think took a back seat. I did enjoy Bo's little arc with his 2 fathers and his coming out story basically as a rebel fighter. I thought it was cute. But I do agree with you, like there isn't much more than a presentation of very relevant social issues that is simplified for a younger audience, right? In the same way that Dragon Prince has been.
Correct, yeah. So I like Dragon. I actually won't be continuing Dragon Prince on a personal basis lah. But that being said, I think like younger kids will get a lot out of it.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, so rating depends. Like for me, it's a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, it's about the same for me.
But I think kids might rate it higher. So there's a kind of caveat with that lah, because it's clearly not aimed for I think males in their 25 to 30s. Yeah. So yeah lah. Well, it is what it is. Next up, we'll be talking about the second season of Happy. Actually, in one of our first episodes, I reviewed the first season of Happy, which is a TV adaptation of a Grant Morrison comic. The series follows a character named Nick Sachs, played by Law & Order's Christopher Maloney, as an angry, drunk ex-cop turned hitman, who is guided to do things by a tiny talking blue unicorn.
This is the second season, right?
Yeah, I mean, it may be real or part of his imagination. We still don't know whether the unicorn is real. But yeah, it's there. It's a fun thing. While the first season was uneven, I found it to be very enjoyable. It was ultra violence and irreverence. It feels like Preacher turned up to 11. And Preacher is already a show that's turned up to 11, and so that means this is even higher. Wow. Season 2 continues down the same path and is kind of gleeful in its depiction of gore and sex and weird bonkers villains. It's kind of a shallow mid-90s Image Comics kind of fun. Kind of like Deadpool meets Crank. You know?
Alright.
I still find it enjoyable, but the show does start to feel soulless after a while because it's just that.
Okay.
It's very one note. It's one note is done very well.
I really like the actor though.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you might enjoy this because the one note can carry for a long time.
Oh, okay.
I've just gotten tired of that one note. So only watch this if you want to turn your brain off and you like, crazy, unhinged, over the top. We're gonna do taboo because it's taboo kind of shit,
Okay.
6 out of 10. I think it's fine. Okay. It's just I would have rated it higher if it was the first season, which I did. It's just the same thing done again. Next up, I'll be talking about a movie starring Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson that is not Captain Marvel.
Unicorn Store.
Yeah, this is a Netflix movie called Unicorn Store that, as I mentioned, starred the Captain Marvel duo. Brie Larson plays Kit, who is a lonely 20-something dreamer who is reluctant to leave the comforts of childhood behind and fully embrace adulthood. Same here, go. But when art school expels her, Kit is forced to move back home with her parents and take a temp job in a boring office.
Oh no.
Just when she's resolved to grow up, a mysterious salesman, Samuel L. Jackson, enters her life and offers to give her her heart's greatest desire. He brings her to a magical store that can give her whatever she wants or needs. And her childhood wish is to have a unicorn, so hence Unicorn Store. This is kind of a pastel, whimsical tale that is unfortunately a bit too muddled and incoherent to really grab you. It's an okay made for TV Hallmark movie.
Okay, it was made for TV then.
Yeah. It wasn't initially made for TV, it's just that Netflix bought it from the what do you call it? From the festival circuit.
Okay.
Yeah, so Netflix bought it 2 years ago actually. They timed it to release with Captain Marvel, which is smart.
Clever.
Smart, very very good marketing on their part, and it needed that marketing because this was a very uninspired kind of movie. 4.5 out of 10 for me. Almost a pass. Almost. Just there. Sorry, Brie Larson, better actress than you are a director. Or a writer for that matter. Look forward to seeing you in Captain Marvel, but please don't make any more movies.
We're talking about Captain Marvel 2.
Captain Marvel 2 or whatever future Avengers she's in. Finally, last segment of the day is, as usual, the pull list. The pull list is usually our last segment because we want to recommend all the things that we've read or encountered in book or literature or manga or comics and stuff like that. So this particular episode, I have to talk about the biggest comic book that came out over the last month.
Which one?
Detective Comics 1000. The esteemed and long-running series Detective Comics hit issue 1000 just last month. And as luck would have it, it also coincides with the 80th anniversary of its most famous creation, Batman. Although Batman didn't actually show up until issue 27, the comic is kind of synonymous with him. And he is the world's greatest detective. Detective Comics, makes sense. And fittingly, it's a wonderful tribute to the Dark Knight, featuring amazing short stories from Jim Lee, Kevin Smith, Jeff Johns, Tom King, Scott Snyder, and lots more. And unlike recent Batman anthologies, the Tom King story wasn't the highlight, which is a surprise. Usually Tom King steals the show.
So who was the highlight?
The highlight here, he's funny upstage, and the highlight here is a story called The Batman Design, which is the one story I definitely recommend that you read. Is by Warren Ellis, who's himself, a really great comic book writer. Yeah, it's kind of the ultimate celebration of the trope we like to call Batman with prep time. And weirdly enough, unintentional rebuttal to Zack Snyder's comments that Batman should kill people. But he clearly wrote this long before Snyder made this comment, so whatever, right?
Yeah.
So the story kind of focuses on Batman chasing down a gang of superpowered criminals. And he has meticulously researched them, manipulated them, and coerced them through the shadows. He's kind of like just push them in various ways into a playground of his own choosing, so he can pick them off one by one. It's almost sadistic if it wasn't so fun to peek behind the curtain of this billionaire genius overthinker. Here it portrays Batman actually enjoying himself, like toying with his prey a bit.
Wow.
He puts so much thought into his theatricality. He's almost like a Glee Club drama queen. It's like which part of the warehouse should I show up? What's the most dramatic side? That kind of thing. And of course he thinks about that because he always chooses the coolest angle to come out
That's
from.
true.
If you even consider yourself a casual fan of the Caped Crusader, Detective Comics 1000 is well worth your price. This issue features truly fantastic lineup of stories brought to life by some of the best and biggest creators in the business. While only kind of a handful of these stories have any sort of direct impact on the larger franchise, they all serve as touching tributes to one of, I guess, comics' most enduring characters, Batman. And definitely read the Batman design by Warren Ellis. Batman with Prep Time is, we all love Batman with Prep Time.
Yeah. Because he's unbeatable.
Exactly. So I love the peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Like, what is the prep? Why is he doing this?
Yeah.
What is the coolest way to enter a room?
Yeah. I didn't know that. That's quite cool because Batman is always mysterious, right?
You see him from the villain's point of view, right?
Exactly.
That gives him the horror
element.
Yeah.
And we always know that Batman has prepared for everything. You just never really see him prepared.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, this is quite cool.
It's cool, yeah, because it's kind of one of those things where I always thought it would be cool to watch a horror movie from the point of view of the villain. Like, sometimes when your character turns around and the villain disappears, it'll be like
where the hell is he?
It'll be funny to watch him just like run off and then like panting behind the wall. It's like,
he's hiding behind the couch.
Yeah, I was like, oh god, thank god, and there's Batman here.
Okay.
You get a peek behind the curtain,
that's quite cool.
That's cool. And that is it for this episode of Genre Equality. This is our 17th episode, the biggest of the year, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Until next month when we talk about Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones already had its I guess first finale last week.
Mid-season
finale.
Quick,
yeah. 3 more episodes to go. We'll talk about it next month. At the same time, we'll be talking about some smaller things.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder's insane Superman Elseworld story, Brightburn, will be coming out in a few weeks.
Who is it directed by? James Gunn, right?
Yes, James. Sorry, did I say Zack Snyder? I meant James Gunn.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just Zack Snyder-esque, like what Zack Snyder wanted to be, but doesn't have enough craft and intelligence to do. So yeah, James Gunn and his brothers actually made this film. We'll also be talking about What We Do in the Shadows, which is the television
series of the movie lah.
Continuation, not even an adaptation.
Yeah.
It is canonically linked to the movie.
Nice.
Also show run by Jermaine Clements. Taika Waititi that directs a handful of episodes, so the core brains behind it are still there. We'll be talking about Detective Pikachu. Oh boy.
Oh come on, it's gonna be good.
No, I mean, for real. I'm 100% convinced it's gonna be the best video game movie of all time.
Oh yeah, I forgot it's a video game.
Yeah, it could finally a legit
get the title.
A legit champion.
Yeah.
Rather than movies that are actually like 5 out of 10,
like
getting that
Assassin's
title,
Creed.
like things like that, or Tomb Raider. Like, can have a legit like 6 out of 10 movie.
Yeah.
Like a proper champion.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about some of the most bizarre shows on TV, like Doom Patrol and Legends of Tomorrow, which have their finales soon.
So exciting.
Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone also. China's big hit of the year, The Wandering Earth, comes to Netflix.
I really want to watch
also,
that.
And also there is Aladdin.
I really want to watch that too.
I think Aladdin will be a quick hits thing, but we'll see lah. If everyone watches it, I may bump
we're
it
all
up.
gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Is Shaw and Hobbs considered genre?
No, then we have to start reviewing the Fast and the Furious franchise.
No, but because this one has more of sci-fi elements to it.
Does it?
Yeah.
What is the sci-fi element?
I mean, the villain is like a super soldier kind of thing.
But they've always had like super soldiery things.
No, but this guy is like augmented super soldier-ish.
Well, sure, you can include that in quick hits. If if you manage to watch it. Second season of Cloak and Dagger finishing soon also, and the second season of Wolverine podcast called Wolverine Lost Trail finishing. And then I'll pick out something for the poll list to read. Yeah. Till then, this has been Hitzer.
I'm Hardy.
I'm Isa.
We'll see you to talk about Game of Thrones next month.
Can't wait.
Bye bye.
Bye.